Today is the 23rd year anniversary of 9/11, one of the most horrific days on U.S. soil. Joining me today in the studio is Melissa Meyers. She is truly just an incredible gem of a human being who practices what she preaches for over 20 years. She's been a lifestyle expert and been teaching us about anti-aging, aging gracefully, and being authentic with yourself. And she has a story about 9/11 and a lot to share with us. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, thank you for having me.
I mean, you're so incredible. I've been following you for a decade because I love all the beauty tips. But then I saw after October 7th how you started to speak up. And I saw that on 9/11, you'll always do some kind of a post to commemorate. And I thought, you know what? Today's the perfect day to have you in to talk about you as a person and how you found your voice to speak up. And I want to just go back to 23 years ago today for you. It has resonated with you, and today is a difficult day. Can you share with us why?
It's been a difficult day every single year. So back in 9/11, my husband he had jury duty downtown, and he actually saw the second plane hit the Twin Towers. And I was crazy because all the cell phones went dead, and we were trying to figure out where our spouses were. People would just, it was just mass pandemonium in New York, as you can imagine.
Yeah.
And he finally came home a couple of hours later, covered in dust and just debris. He did a cab share with two strangers at the time, which you don't do typically in New York. And it was just, I think it was like one of the worst days of my life, and I think of everyone else's lives, because that is when we realized that terrorism is a real threat to our democracy. And we never thought we would see it on our soil. So, you kind of have blinders on, and you're living in I was going to say La La Land because I live in La La Land now, but back then living in New York, you go through your life every day just taking it for granted. And that is something that I will never do again after that day. And it changed me as a person, as a human being, and it made me look at myself as a Jewish person and say, wow, also as an American, back then it was more of like an American issue rather than focusing on the Jewish issue, which now it's kind of flipped to that. Mm-hmm. But it just gave me this new insight and this new perspective that I now feel so strongly about sharing this with other people, and every year just never forget, because in the back of my mind I know that this was the seed, and a very bad seed, of maybe some things to come, and anti-Semitism that we're seeing today. And the reaction of what's going on right now is so different from that reaction that people had back then. It's a hard time. It was a hard time then, and again, reliving it now. So after 10/7, I went back to the trauma that I felt. And that trauma included losing a lot of friends husbands who worked at Cantor Fitzgerald. My kids at the time went to Horace Mann, and actually the CEO of Cantor Fitzgerald, his kids were there. So it was a very, very impactful time, very sad time. You could smell the stench of the fires for about 6 weeks after, even on the Upper East Side, because New York's only about 11.5 miles, I think, from top to bottom. Right. So there were papers that were flying in the air. You were covered in soot, even if you went out for like an hour, even if you lived on the other side of town. It's just something that imprinted something in me, in my soul, that I just feel like I need to be a voice for democracy, somewhat. Obviously I have my platform of, helping women look and feel their best, be their best at any age and stage, holistic living. And I think that tying those two together is important, because, how do we survive this?
Well, you've been such a voice for democracy. You have no problem standing up for what's right. Mm-hmm. And since October 7th, you've been a loud voice. You've just been really reporting the truth is all you've been doing. Mm-hmm. and seeing that is so courageous. It shouldn't be courageous. It should just be something easy. But for people like you who have a large platform, it's been difficult for people.
Very difficult.
I mean, how did you find the courage to just so naturally stand up, to speak up for the women and children and the people of Israel after 10/7?
It was not a difficult choice. It was a reaction. It was a gut feeling. It was something that I felt called to do, and I still feel called to do. Now, was I penalized? Yes, I was. So in the beginning, I'd say the first week after 10/7, I was posting all the live footage, and then Instagram shadow banned my account, like so many other influencers and, people who were advocating for the hostages or, what was going on at the time. But it was very disheartening because I then started to lose tons of followers. I lost about 10,000 followers initially in like 1 week. And then after that, I was losing my brand deals because of being shadow banned. All my story views that were in the thousands went to the hundreds. And then when I had to deliver analytics to brands that may have wanted to work with me, they were like, oh no, we can't go with this because your reach isn't what it used to be or what it should be or what we'd like it to be. So that was very, very tough because I spent 20 years building out this business. I mean, back in New York when I ran an online magazine, I was a lifestyle expert on the Weekend Today show. I did so much to build out this business to be who I am today. And it was very disheartening.
But it didn't stop you.
It did not stop me. But what I did is I learned how to do it. So I learned that be less political, don't put so much graphic content up, don't be as supercharged. I learned how to finesse it. So now I don't post every single day about 10/7, but I posted quite a bit about the hostages. Today I did an entire memorial post against all terrorism, and I went to an event last week that was at the Nova Festival, and it was extremely tough, but I have a post up today, and I did it on 9/11 on purpose because I really just want to honor everyone who's been killed through terrorism. Such senseless way to die, and it's so disheartening to me. It hurts.
It is. It hurts. It's so painful. And I think as women, we have such a hard time processing this pain because we're watching women and children and men and families, and there's so much pain in it. But somehow, Melissa, you find a way not only to speak up, but also to find the joy in life and not to feel guilty when you are. Can you share a little bit with us on how we can continue to find the joy while we still feel the pain at the same time?
Well, that's a part of Judaism. Our resilience, and we always see the light, and to spread joy and love and laughter. You can see people, like we say, we will dance again, and we will. And that I feel confident about. So I want to spread that message as much as possible. So I even say to my kids, because it's tough, and my son always says, oh, we're always talking about the same thing every day, every night, and I said, you know what, you need to be aware, but at the same time, you can't let go of the beauty of life. You have to find joy in every day, whether that's carving out, and for me, that's what I have to do. I carve out time. If you have to put it in your calendar, put it in your calendar. I mean, my 10K steps, getting my endorphins going, is something that helps me so much. So pick a hobby. For me, that's horseback riding. Okay, other people may not want to hop on a horse, but equine therapy is great, and that's something to investigate, even if you don't ride horses. But I mean, besides that, maybe it's pickleball, maybe it's community, getting together with friends. I know that I've been meeting a lot of friends one-on-one now, especially my Jewish friends. It just so happens. And we're just talking about it all the time. And it's just like community lifts you up.
Yes.
And just reflecting on some joyous times that you have together, like maybe looking at some I keep now going back and looking at some old times when my kids were little, old videos. And, sometimes it's sad when you see people who you've lost, but at the same time, it gives you joy and hope.
Yes.
And that's what we want. We need to have this hope. we need to take care of ourselves. We need to put oxygen masks on our kids, on other people who may not be able to do so now, so that we can help them.
100%. I love that you say you calendar it, because we calendar everything in our lives now, right?
That's right.
And joy needs to be calendared as well.
It sounds crazy, but it does.
It does.
You need to schedule it. I mean, you almost need to schedule it in as an activity.
It does.
Because it may, otherwise a day may go by and you may not find that joy.
100%. But I have to be honest with you. I try so hard to cultivate that in my family as well. But there is so much guilt now associated with that since October 7th. And I try so hard to let go of it. But every time I pick up my glass to make a toast, I just feel like, is this the right thing to be doing?
I understand that. Because a lot of times when I go to posts, like I was in Mykonos recently, and I was very careful about not over posting because I felt guilty. I said, how can I post myself having this like grand old time somewhere when all this stuff is going on in the world? But at the same time, I gave myself a pass. And I did post a video of me like swirling a napkin, dancing on tables, doing all that stuff, because if we're going to take that away from us, then what do we have?
Yes, you're right. You are absolutely right. And I love that because you're so authentic. Your platform is so real. I know that every time I look on your site, either it's for a place to travel to or a brand to buy or whatever it is, I know that you're real. And I know that nothing you're saying is inauthentic. And I so appreciate that, Melissa. And that's why I wanted you to come and speak with us today, because I think as women, it's a balancing act.
It's not an easy one, but it is one that's extremely important. And I feel that self-care creates resilience, and it creates an attitude that you can be your best version of you, so that you can also help other people and be strong for others. It's not just a selfish thing. It's, I want to be there for other people. I want to show up.
Yes.
And if I can't show up, then I can't expect others to show up.
It's actually the opposite of selfish. It's selfless, because when you take care of yourself, you can then give so much to the world, which is exactly what you're doing, Melissa. Thank you. Thank you for being a voice. Thank you for continuing to stand up for what's right in a time of so much darkness. You do bring a lot of light to the world.
Thank you. I appreciate that so much.
It's so true. For anyone who doesn't follow Melissa, follow her. She's incredible. Believe her. Everything she says is right on. It's true. It's amazing. And everyone, take a moment today, like we did, to really commemorate, to memorialize 9/11, and to think about all of those who are not with us anymore. And we'll see you all next time right here on Moms Matter.